Come with us on a journey tonight as we snuggle beside the warm embers of our Christmas fire here on Night Terrors Radio. Thank you for tuning in tonight. We have a great show lined up for you. We have a call-in show. Now, we'll be telling our own Christmas ghost stories tonight, but we do encourage you to tell your own, and that would be by calling us at 217-292-1680. That is the persistent Night Terrors Radio call-in line. Tell us your Christmas stories. Anything that you have. This could be real paranormal. This could be something that's just your favorite Christmas ghost story. But we want to hear something spooky for Christmas tonight. As always, I am one of your hosts, Ash Hamilton, with horror-fix.com and Night Terrors Radio. I've got Brett Blakely with me here in studio tonight.
What's up?
I have Sean Ed, all the way across the river. And what I mean is a very local river. It's just a very small body of water. More like a mud puddle. But it's very, very close. He also comes to us from the Midwest. And we have our East Coast correspondent, Rob Distilly. How are you doing tonight, Rob?
Living the dream.
One nightmare at a time. That's what we do here on Night Terrors Radio. Hope everyone had a great week. December 23rd, the night before the eve of Christmas. Is everybody ready for Christmas?
It's Festivus.
Yeah.
Yeah? Everybody's ready for Christmas?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
As ready as you can be. I'm always last minute.
I'm going to kick off our Christmas story, maybe not with a ghost story, but a little bit of a poll here on Christmas ghost stories. And not the poll that you got to pay extra for. This is P-O-L-L. So the poll that we're going to be talking about tonight is, what was the one Christmas gift, a la Christmas Story and the Red Ryder BB gun, that you wanted as a youth and never received? What was that one thing? So I can eyeball you if you don't talk directly into the microphone, Brett, since you're right here in the studio. What was that one
call
thing
me first. I'm terrible.
as a kid that you wanted? I'm not going to get you to look in the
I'm going to say
too.
it's
Read everything for me tonight.
It was
eye contact.
1985.
Classes are really paying off.
I was 5 years old, and Nintendo was just coming out. It was that Christmas that, the Nintendo Entertainment System. This entertainment system we'll have for you at home. It will do everything for you.
You're painting a very nice, nostalgic picture, by the way.
Man, we begged our parents. Everything. We'll all put all of our Christmases together. Just whatever it takes. And just could not make it happen that year.
So you wanted the NES.
I wanted the NES.
Not happen.
We ended up getting it a year later. We were always a year behind.
Were there a lot of awkward pre-Christmas conversations with your parents, though? Like whenever you'd mention it, whenever you'd be like, I can't wait for Christmas because I know that they've got the RoboCop game for NES now, and I can't wait to play it. And your parents are like, yeah.
Yeah, my dad had no idea, like, what the... I don't give a shit what the hell this thing is. You play TV? What? Get that shit off my TV so I can watch my westerns.
Right.
Yeah, that was the conversation.
That's so very like our generation, too.
Yeah.
Get your shit off my TV so I can watch my westerns.
I watch my Gunsmoke.
Oh, yeah.
My stories. I want to watch my stories of the manliest men on the West. I want to watch my westerns.
So how about you, Ash? What was your one gift?
So this is almost spooky, okay? This is the case of the disappearing Star Wars figure.
Oh.
And maybe my mother is listening.
You didn't fall on it, did you?
And she can provide. It was in the bathtub. I never saw the figure again. You want to see a magic trick? Ooh! Those are plastic capes sure are stiff. Huh? So, I remember scouring my house to find gifts. I was that kid. I would turn the house upside, because my parents were like, hey, we're going somewhere. Now, we lived in a town that was fairly remote too, right? So when they said, hey, we're going into town, I had about an hour and a half window. And that would be them just going into town, doing something and coming back. Right? I had an hour and a half window to sniff out my dad's porno mags and to look for Christmas toys. That was it. That was my window. And we had a beautiful turn-of-the-century Victorian house that my mother remodeled. Lovely house. I had very fond memories growing up in that house. And we had this dining room, and we had sort of like a, like a china hutch, or a, like a dinnerware hutch, whatever you call it, plates and stuff in it, Very nice sort of hutch with a glass window in our dining room. And I remember looking inside that hutch, and I saw a Power of the Force Lando Calrissian in general Calrissian garb. Remember, he had the cape and everything. His outfit was a little bit different and became a general for Return of the Jedi, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So his status was elevated from just a scoundrel in the rebellion all the way to general by the time Return of the Jedi came around. And I was like, holy shit. Because the Power of the Force figures at that time, by the way, were few and far between. A lot of the toy stores no longer carried these figures because this was about a year or two removed from Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
Okay, so JCPenney's and Sears, they had milked it for all it was worth. And a lot of the stores that you would expect to find, Return of the Jedi figures, and you couldn't anymore. So they came out with this line a little bit afterwards that was Power of the Force. And they had a coin with them. Does anyone remember the Power of the Force figures?
Yeah.
Vaguely.
Yeah, because you also were able to get Luke in Stormtrooper guys. They had a removable Stormtrooper helmet. The head was very small on Luke. Like, he looked like he should have been, working part-time for a circus. He had this little tiny pinhead.
Pinhead Luke.
Yeah, Pinhead Luke. And you can
Yeah.
you can take the Stormtrooper mask on and off of Pinhead Luke. But he had that gold Power of the Force, which one side said, Power of the Force. I think it had the hand holding the lightsaber. And then, that didn't look good.
That
Those
move.
people watching the camera. Yeah. They had the hands holding the lightsaber. And the other side had, a portrait of the figure. But it was all, cast. It was cast in these coins. Right. But this was even before then, right? So
Yeah.
that was the continuation of the Power of the Force line. And it was the Power of the Force General Calrissian figure. And I was like, I can't fucking wait till Christmas to get that figure. Right? Because it's Lando. I mean, come on, Lando's, he's the Colt 45 of the Star Wars universe.
Oh yeah.
Right?
He's a thug. He's OG.
He is. And Christmas came around, and that figure was fucking nowhere. And I'm like, Mom and Dad are losing it. It's like, come on, you guys are only in your late 30s, early 40s here. How could you forget to take out my General Calrissian figure and wrap it up for me, all nice and pretty, because I found it. I'm expecting it. I never got that figure.
What if it wasn't for you?
Well, then my parents have some explaining to do.
Did you ever ask him about it?
Because nobody else deserved that. Yeah, I remember at one point asking my mom, hey, not to sound like a dick here, but I found that Lando Calrissian figure, and I noticed that things were a little bit bare in the tree. It wasn't there. I got a little like Tony Soprano. I'm like, when am I going to get that figure?
I am looking at
Because
the
it was
back
in-
of my.
It was in the China hutch. and now it's not.
I'm looking at the back of my Luke Power of the Force action figure, and it actually has the Lando. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's the picture of the Lando.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened. Like, and I remember asking my mom, sometime after, because it wasn't going to be like, like 9:05, where I'm like, okay, so we've had Christmas presents unwrapped now for about 20 minutes. Let's get down to business here. Where the fuck is that Lando figure? and Mom is chiming in right now. That figure disappeared. She does not know where that figure went either. It's somewhere, like, riding on, like, a Holly Hobby fucking horse in Carol Ann's fucking closet in the Poltergeist. That's where it went. Because that figure was absolutely nowhere to be found.
I'm gonna buy one. I'm gonna send you a picture of me opening it up.
But good
Smashing
luck.
it.
That particular one is now super expensive. Okay,
Yeah.
Sean Ed, you gotta chime in here. What was that one thing you wanted and never got?
So, one of my cousins I was really close to, like we were basically like brothers, we grew up together, and he was a little bit older than me. And he always got all the cool stuff right away. He's a really nice guy, but like we always had kind of weird rivalry between us, where we were best friends, but we always wanted to try to one up each other what we could show off and what we got for Christmas. And so, but I totally had hero worship for him. So like, he got Transformers, and I was like, oh shit, Transformers, those are awesome. And you remember the original ones were, especially like when they started bringing the Dinobots in, were very like clunky.
Oh,
And so he got the big T-Rex, and I was like, oh man, I got like the Stegosaurus, and it was impossible to like change that thing, like they made it look so simple on the cartoon, but it was like solving, Pinhead's puzzle box to go from a Stegosaurus to a robot, and so like he got the T-Rex, and I was just in awe. So I told my parents, I was like, I knew he didn't have Optimus, and I knew he wanted Optimus, so I just, it was so like petty, but I was like, I wanted Optimus, and I didn't really even want him, I just wanted to have him to show him off. And so like I tried so damn hard to get Optimus that year, and I ended up getting Bumblebee, and I was like, which now is kind of a bigger character, but back in the day it was like, who cares? Like Bumblebee
Right.
wasn't that big a deal. They brought him out when the movies came out, and and I got like a couple other ones. It was really cool, but like Optimus was like impossible to find. So so then I go to, like, we hang out, like, soon after, like we always did, our families got together, and I was like, so I got this one, and I'm trying to, talk it up like it's really cool, right? And he's like, yeah, that's cool. I got like the Millennium Falcon for Star Wars. And I'm all like, what? And I was like, he showed it to me, and of course, it opened up and it had the cockpit rebuilt, and I was like, I give up. Like, there's nothing I can do to top you. So I never got Optimus. I still have all my original Transformers stored away. I found them going through them earlier this year, and I was like, that's awesome, and it was nostalgic. And my son was like, hey, can I check these out? And I'm like, no, you can't. Like, you cannot touch these.
Well,
but
I agree. When it came to the Dinobots, you had to commit to one form or the other.
yeah.
Did you want a robot or a dinosaur?
Yeah. The
Because
cars were
you had-
easy.
Yeah, you had maybe 2 transformations tops out of these things. I had Grimlock, and like the flank of the T-Rex kept fucking coming off of Grimlock.
Yeah.
And
But
I
yeah,
was
like the
okay,
Stegosaurus was like bad because like the tail opened up.
so,
And you had to open up the tail to be able to push the tail aside to change it. It was kind of like doing one of these things, like when you're done, you're like, what the hell? And I'm like, I'm not a 40-year-old man. I'm like, a 10-year-old kid trying to figure this out. And I'm all like, but you're just all like, man, you're a Stegosaurus at all times, so whatever.
right. You almost had to buy 2.
Yeah.
And then just do a quick swap and make the sound, and then
Right.
it was the other thing. Okay, Rob. What about you? What was that
Let's hear it, Rob.
one thing that you wanted? What was her name, and why didn't it happen?
Well, I am the youngest of 6 kids, and there's 10 years between me and the next one in front of me. And my parents did their best, by that particular point in time, 5 kids and then a 10-year break and then me. They were pretty much just like, yeah, we've seen it all. We've done it all. I really wanted Kiss Alive 2.
Ooh.
Okay. The big silver cover with, and then it was the bifold with all the
was that the double vinyl?
Yeah, it was the double vinyl.
Yeah.
And I asked, I was like, I really don't want much, if I could just get this one record. This is the one record I want. And my mom went to the record store, and apparently she got a good look at who the members of Kiss were. And I received an Air Supply record.
Oh my God.
and to this day, I still have that Air Supply record unopened.
Oh,
it is downstairs in my basement in my box of stuff. Mom wasn't thrilled about, Gene Simmons, with blood all over his face and spitting fire and
yeah. I asked my aunt for the CD of Wasp Live in the Raw.
Oh.
And she cleverly substituted, because I almost didn't even notice when I put it on and it was Bryan Adams. And I'm like, wait a second. No one's getting sucked and eaten raw here. Even though it is the summer of '69, Bryan Adams. This is not Wasp Live in the Raw. Yeah. So needless to say, I'm not a huge Bryan Adams fan. But yeah, I did not get Wasp Live in the Raw. And it was like live Bryan Adams. Like she thought that would do it.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like,
take it up a notch.
She's like, there's got to be enough guitar feedback in here that you won't notice that this isn't Blackie Lawless on vocals.
My mother probably went in, I'm just picturing it. Oh no, I'm not getting him that. What's on the other side of the store? Right next to Montavani.
Either that or somebody that just wanted to fuck with you. Somebody that had way too many late retail nights at Christmas, and here comes this lady, and she's like, I'd like Kiss Alive too. Not that that's what your mom sounded like, but that's my lady voice. Yeah. I know that you have the Kiss Alive here. It's always the Kiss Alive. I know you have it. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, here's what you want. It's fucking Air Supply, lady.
Yep. Your kid's going to love it.
He's gonna love it.
None of his friends are gonna make fun of him.
You know how Kiss stayed alive? A steady supply of air supply. Here you go. Okay, so now that we've lived through our childhood trauma of the things that we desperately wanted and did not get, let's move on over to Christmas ghost stories. By the way, anyone that does want to call in, it's 217-292-1980. We'll be taking calls tonight. Who wants to start with their Christmas story? How about
wait. We have to talk about something else real quick.
Okay. And what would that be?
Did you or did you not have a sonic boom?
Oh, we have a sonic boom that I am very suspicious of, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm very, very suspicious of it. So, and I don't know if both of you can attest. Did both of you feel this alleged sonic boom?
I did. I was at my city job, and I was sitting right next to the exterior wall, and it definitely shook all the windows. Yeah, I didn't expect it to be a plane. It to me, it brought thoughts of the Russian meteors that came in that caused the sonic boom and shattered windows, because this was heard for so far.
Oh, different Russian.
Well, I was sitting there in line waiting to take Ben up from school, and all of a sudden my car, like I thought something like actually hit my car. Like I thought something hit my car, then actually shimmied
Oh yeah.
for a second, and then I was like, I look around, I'm like, I'm looking on the, I actually opened my door to look out. I thought somebody threw like a ball, like another student threw like a football or something. There's kids outside and hit my car and it bounced off, and no, nothing.
Yeah, we were. I was at home. Corinne, my stepdaughter, was also home. She was actually leaning against her wall and thought that something had ran into the side of the house. House shook, heard the boom, heard the noise, and I felt it right here. I thought, that something again. It ran into the house, or possibly a large limb or something from outside had fallen on the roof. Of course, we ran out and there was nothing there. And, people had taken to the internet, as they often do, speculating about what it could have been. And people were saying that there were, unconfirmed reports of a earthquake or a tremor about 20 miles south of Champaign, Illinois. So that speculation was thrown in the mix as well. And then it landed on Sonic Boom. And I was on Twitter taking a look at the course of the plane, the altitude, the speed, and then they blamed the Sonic Boom, of course, on course correction. The sudden course correction caused it. But what's interesting is that, and again, now I'm obviously not an expert, so I'm going by everything that I've read, and I'm going by what I could find of the math online, which is the altitude, what they actually call the cone for the boom, and the proximity from the boom, how it radiates, and who should or should not have felt it. But we've got people that were talking about feeling it as far away as Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at, just for example, Springfield to Toledo, Ohio, you're looking at over 2 hours.
Yeah.
My mother felt it in Danville, Illinois, which is 126 miles from me. Now, I've talked to people who lived in places where sonic booms were actually quite regular. And what they were saying was that it was I'm sorry. Springfield, Illinois to Toledo, Ohio is actually 6 hours, 32 minutes. When I originally Googled it, it was coming up Springfield, Ohio. So Springfield, Illinois, where we felt it, to Toledo, Ohio is approximately 6 hours, 32 minutes away. And people were talking about the boom, and they were talking about it at the same time, roughly around 11:10, 11:20 in the morning. And if you looked at the flight path was, I think, a little bit outside of Springfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that's my question. We've got people at a minimum that I've talked to of 5 miles to a maximum of 6 hours away.
And, not for nothing, military aircraft cannot go supersonic over populated area. So even in a course correction, that pilot would not have been able to push that kind of speed. They just cannot do that over populated area at 2,500 feet off the ground, as they're saying it was.
Yeah, they're saying it's about 2,500 feet.
So at less than half a mile off the ground, this guy's going to go, push the sonic barrier. No, that's not going to happen. That shattering windows directly below wherever he was.
So we've got people at this point 418 miles away talking about the sonic boom. Now, that cone, I believe, is I think 10 miles for every 10,000 feet. Right. I think how they judge that.
2.5 miles.
Yeah, we should, even at its most, most people talk about feeling reverberations maybe 11 miles plus for a sonic boom. Definitely not in Danville, Illinois at 126 miles away, and certainly not in Toledo at 418. So my problem is, again, is that if I'm presented with a particular kind of math that says here is how you get distance heard and felt from point of origin, and that doesn't jive, I need someone to tell me something different, you know? Now, I'm not saying I know what it is at all, but I think that I would have been much more prone to have believed that it was a tremor.
It's just, but a tremor isn't going to be a single event. A tremor is not just going to go and be done.
Did anyone see anything out there? Call in. I'm curious. Anyone see anything bizarre? I was stuck in a building. I kept looking out the window to see smoke, see something. It was way louder than a transformer blowing. Anything like that I've been involved with at my job.
Now, when you and I talked, Ash, and I told you, and I sent you some information on here in Western New York in the Finger Lakes, there's a phenomenon called the Seneca Guns.
Right.
And it is a incredibly loud boom that just every so often, not in any kind of pattern, not any kind of rhythmic, it's not every 3 months or anything like that. Every once in a while, it'll just be this huge boom that just echoes through a portion of the Finger Lakes. And, the stories go back years, hundreds of years on this. And, it's one of those things that there's just no explanation for it. And people have been trying to explain, those kind of things for a long time. And I don't know, I forget what it was. We were talking about Dyatlov Pass, and what was the audio anomaly we were talking about with where the wind making a certain noise and creating
right. I mean, we've also been hearing booms, horns, things that almost sound otherworldly from different parts of the world for the last 10 years that have gone unexplained. Usually those aren't associated with anything physical, like the rattling of houses, windows, etc., like what we experienced. But there are a lot of these random noises that people are hearing.
Yeah, it's just a weird, 400 miles. It's just not going to work that way.
No.
Now, if I could just speculate for even just a moment, even a tremor, I mean, that would have to have been one of the largest tremors,
oh yeah,
in North American history to have some kind of an effect 400 miles away. And then, at the same time, because from all the reports that I read looking it up, and all the different things, everybody was experiencing it within 2 or 3 minutes of each other.
Yeah.
A tremor's not traveling 400 miles, at exactly the same time.
And I mean, I could even see if there was a situation where, if we're looking at something like a course correction, and it course corrected once, but it course corrected closer to maybe Springfield, then went at a different trajectory and course corrected several minutes later over another area, we at least then would be getting this idea of multiple booms spread out over a distance. But the flight path was, as soon as that course correction happened, it flew back over populated areas of Springfield and then back into St. Louis. So it was getting nowhere near Ohio.
That's just crazy. It's just another one of those things. So, all right, sorry, I didn't mean to, derail us that much, but that was an interesting topic for me.
No, I think so, definitely. So let's go ahead and let's concentrate now on some Christmas ghost Stories. And again, for those of you wanting to call in, that number is 217-292-1680. Christmas Ghost Stories. What do you have for us, Rob? I know you've got something good. You always do.
I think my favorite holiday story was um, it kind of surrounded this. We were called into a home to do an investigation, and I'm trying to remember what year it was. It was very early on in my paranormal investigating career, and the house that we were called into, um, the they were having all kinds of problems with like the lights and things like that, specifically in the room where the tree was, on the tree, around the tree, all that kind of stuff. And it was one of those weird things where like, oh no, everything was fine, all the outlets were fine, all the lights were fine. We couldn't document anything that we were there. And we started going back into the history of this home. And I'm trying to remember where it was. It was in the city of Rochester, and I want to say it was Melville Street for some reason. That's what's coming to mind. But anyway, the woman that lived there kept having these doors would slam shut at 10 o'clock, almost on the dot, almost every night, 10 o'clock. And then that's when there would be like this experience with the lights in the tree and the lights in the room. And it was so weird. We were not able to experience any of the stuff that happened, but we left a recorder there for her to turn on. And sure enough, she was not at home. No one was at home when the recorder was on, and we caught the door slamming. And it was just one of those weird, like Christmas time things that, like, in that time of the year, it was a very odd sensation, to be in that, what was happening at 10 o'clock that affected the Christmas tree and doors were slamming. Must have been a big fight about, that goddamn Air Supply record.
I blame the state of foreign affairs on Air Supply at this point. Rob, I hate to interrupt you. We've got Karen calling in from New York, and Karen says that she has a Christmas ghost story. Yeah, Karen, this is Ash from Night Terrors Radio. So you have a Christmas ghost story for us, correct?
I do.
Well, we are eager to hear it, Karen.
Well, it was really strange that it would happen because this is a house that we had built, so it's brand new. No history, nobody died in it, that kind of a thing. It's down in Westchester County, in just, north of Manhattan. And it was the first Advent Sunday. And I wanted to go pull out our wreath and light the candle for the first Advent. I was the only one home. And I went into our storage room, which was actually quite large. I turned on the light, I open the door, I see the wreath, I start walking towards it, and I hear a little old lady in the back of the room. Hello? I mean, I heard it very clear with my ears. I just took the wreath calmly, turned around, walked out, closed the door, turned off the light, and just said, "What the fuck?"
Oh, my.
So, I had no idea. That house ended up becoming very haunted, by the way. But it was about 18 months after that I found out that the builder, it was a gated community, had purchased the land from the church next door and dug up all the graves of the nuns and shipped them to their order out in Ohio.
Oh, my. There were some pissed off nuns.
So, and then he put put mounds of huge rocks so that we would have hills, and it would make it look pretty and whatever. But it was just amazing. So we went away actually then for Christmas and came back in time for New Year's. We hadn't been there about 3 weeks. And I walked in the door. We're bringing in our luggage from our trip. And I'm like, wow, it smells so great in here. It smells really super clean, not musty at all. And then our son comes running out of our bedroom and says, your TV's on with white noise. And I'm like, well, there was probably some, electrical whatever, something happened, and it just kind of automatically turned on, no big deal. But I still couldn't get over how great everything smelled. And then I was in my closet hanging up my clothes, and I heard my husband come in, and I just leaned out. I said, "Doesn't it smell great in the house?" And he stopped in his tracks. He opened up our curtains in the bedroom, and our bedroom was on the second floor. And don't forget, we're in a gated community, so there's a lot of people, and they would have noticed something if somebody was putting a ladder up to our window. But we had double hung windows, and the window was raised up about 5 inches or so and pulled out about 2 inches. And we're just like, how the hell did that happen? And, so just things started happening. It was, New Year's, we actually closed the door and we moved up to Rochester. But I started, other things were happening in that house. Long stories, but this was a Christmas one. Hearing a woman's voice. I never had heard, a disembodied voice before.
Right.
Well, that's my story.
Well, that is certainly interesting. So, no, and what exactly was the smell again? Like, was it anything that you could attribute
like a
to
fresh, clean, like springtime smell. Winter down in Westchester, it can get cold, but in December it's still pretty nice actually. And that December happened to be really nice, and I think just having that window open for 3 weeks, or who knows how long, I don't know. And it just brought in all this really fresh air. It smelled wonderful, but to have that be like that was just very strange.
That is very bizarre.
Two psychics coming. They came to the house. I invited them over for the night because there was one night then I was going to be alone, and I didn't want to be alone. And they walked in, and we had like about 35, 40-foot ceilings, and you could see upstairs into the loft. And they were talking and saying, well, can we walk through the whole house to see what we sense? And I said, sure, wherever you want to go. And all of a sudden one said, oh, my God, did you see it? And she was like, yeah, I ran into the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, great. So, yeah, that was I didn't sleep that night. But it was just curious that, I how could that be happening? It's a brand new house. We built it. So, you don't have to have an old house or an old building to have it be occupied by other beings as well.
Well, thank you so very much for the story, Karen. We really do appreciate it. That was a great
Yeah, thanks,
that was
Karen.
fantastic.
Ghost
That's
story.
what we're looking for.
Definitely.
Well, it happened. It was true. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you,
Have a
Karen.
great holiday.
Yeah.
Bye. You too.
So, how many people out there think that the Krampus legend is more than a legend? I'm guessing there are quite a few.
You would
I
think
dated her in
so.
high school.
You dated her back in high school.
Oh, a different kind of cramps. Sorry.
Right, yeah.
Sorry.
No, he comes around annually, not monthly, Rob.
Oh.
There's the difference.
Yep. Gotcha.
It's all about the timeline.
That's right.
If
Timing
anyone
is everything.
has any Krampus-related stories or Christmas-related stories, please give us a call. Again, that number is 217-292-1680. Now, there has been reported sightings of Krampus. So there's actually one online that I was reading earlier. Very, very lengthy. But these are people talking about, being our Christmas time, a small village. They were children in the small village. And their father served as the village station master. So the railway operated in the summer. That person's father was a station master. Apparently, the kid had a lot of friends. But there was this extremely nasty boy in their village that they were all... think of Scott Fargus.
Okay.
So wherever they're at, this is their equivalent of Scott Fargus, right?
Or for you Stephen King fans, it would be Belch Huggins or Victor Chris.
Oh yeah, right. So apparently, this person. Now this is very, very interesting. Okay, and I've got to quote this verbatim because it gets really bizarre. So they're coming home, and this boy lunged out of the trees at them, only not exactly as they would usually have him appear. So the boy came out of the trees wearing just one sock, and I quote, his willy was very red, as if he had been rubbing it for hours. Yes. So the boy was yelping loudly, and they dared
you?
not approach him.
Was this you?
Were you that
Was
little
it
fat boy?
No, I beat him
I
up.
just beat the shit out of him. Where's the fat? So apparently, this story ends up, and it's a very long story, so I'll condense it. But this boy apparently said that he was sort of assaulted by this Krampus-like figure. And that it happened over different periods of time. This is what's interesting. So not just over like the Christmas time Yuletide holiday.
Okay.
But apparently happened numerous times, so that the boy's mother actually said that she would have to defend her child against this thing.
Damn, he's been extra bad.
Because it was constantly
Yeah.
assaulting him. At this point, like, hire a life coach.
No
Get your shit together.
Yeah.
Bars on the windows. Move. You know, move.
Right, you got to do something. But I have not heard of a lot of actual stories that aren't just the Krampus legend, but stories that circle around the legend being in some part truth.
No, I can't say that I have either.
Well, see, now you got me wondering, like, was this in a Krampus, like, was it, you know, in like Germany, Bavaria, that kind of area of the world?
So the town that they cite is Tyrol. So if we do a search for a small town of Tyrol,
Austria.
it comes up a charming small town in Austria.
So it is, you know, the
So yeah,
Krampus,
kind of in Krampus territory,
yeah, yeah.
nearby it at least.
Did the kid have a whip?
Well, it's sort of.
Grab a tree branch?
It was
Well,
very,
yeah.
it was very red at the
It
end.
says very red. Probably leathery and soft at that point.
It was.
Bruised.
Did it throw him down in the? Did it throw him down in a creek bed?
Like a lipstick.
It was very irritated. It was extremely, extremely irritated and a little frostbite.
I mean, here's the big thing: is the big question on everyone's mind is where's the other sock? Like, where's
Right.
his sock child? Because you know that sock it's frozen. That's why it's so hard and brittle.
So maybe Krampus is the reason for all of our one missing sock.
It could be.
The sock is made of snow, and that's why it's all red.
Well, I mean, traditionally Christmas stockings were socks, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like before people started to, before they were ornamental, before people were sewing their names in them, there were socks that they would hang, on the fireplace mantle. So
The kind of sock I'd get was out of like Full Metal Jacket for Christmas.
So Krampus, what if part of his agenda is also like, fuck your presents, fuck your socks.
There you go.
You're not going to get anything. You're
Yeah.
not going to get
See,
any
now,
Hershey's Kisses.
when you said one sock, I kind of had that old Red Hot Chili Pepper, sock thing. Like, I thought that's where we were going.
Right. It's more performance art than anything else.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, so we've talked a little bit of Krampus. Who else has a Christmas ghost story? And that includes people in the audience, 217-292-1680. Who has a Christmas ghost story? Sean or Brett?
Sean, what do you got?
Okay, so I've got one, and actually it's really kind of crazy because I was looking forward to this show just for the fact that my closest, what I would say, most real interaction with the afterlife dealt with Christmas time. And so this is This is several years ago. This is almost 10 years ago or so. And I was home for the holidays, like, off work. I was actually working construction at the time. I wasn't working where I was working now. And I was on the off season. So I was home. It was in the afternoon and I was sleeping. And really, I ended up having this dream where I was myself, but I wasn't at the time. I was probably in my like early 30s. I was maybe 8, 9 years old. And I was at a house that I didn't recognize. And I saw a guy there that I recognized as my grandfather. Now, my grandfather had been dead at that point for almost 15, 20 years. And he was in what to me looked like attire you'd see maybe in like the 50s, maybe early 60s. And it was snowing outside. There was Christmas lights up. I was helping him shovel the front lawn. And I remember like watching all of it and kind of when you have all of that cognizant like dreaming where you're almost going to start to take control of yourself. And I recognize the fact that this is a dream and this isn't real, but it was just so vivid. And I was just kind of, I'm going to let this go because I loved my grandfather dearly. He was very much a well-loved man in our family. And so I was like, I really wanted to have that time again with him. So I let it go. And I see his car pull up, and it looked like kind of like a Studebaker, like that kind of late 50s, early 60s model. And I see it pull up, and I see a couple get out, and they're a little bit older, and I don't recognize them at all. But they're in that kind of similar attire. And I hear a voice from behind me say, Jake, and I don't remember the names, are here. Why didn't you tell me? And I turn around, and of course I recognize the voice the second that I heard it was my grandmother. My grandmother was alive at the time, but she was very, very ill and had been for a while. And I remember turning around and seeing her walk out, and she looked like she was maybe in her late 50s, early 60s. And she was lively. She was moved down. She ran over and hugged the couple, and they got back inside. And I remember as everyone kind of, my grandmother ushered the couple inside to what I guess was supposed to be maybe like a holiday dinner or gift exchange because they were carrying wrapped presents with them. I remember like that to me was my time that I need to stop and interact with this. So I kind of took hold and I reached kind of through like that feeling of being an observer in a dream and just letting stuff happen to you and actually like taking control. And I remember pushing through and actually reaching for my grandfather. And my grandfather always wore bib overalls because he was a farmer. Bib overalls. He had a long winter trench coat. He always had his glasses on, and he chewed that Red Chief tobacco. He always had some stuck. Oh yeah, but you know that smell. Like if you've ever smelled that, that smell of that tobacco. And he always had some stuck in here. And I remember like grabbing him, and like the second I grabbed him, I was 30 or like 33, whatever I was at the time. Like I was in my 30s. I wasn't like, a 10-year-old kid anymore. And I remember grabbing him. I remember smelling the tobacco. I remember, feeling like the feel of the denim on him. And I was just like, and I go, I've missed you so much. We've all missed you so much. And he goes, I missed you too, but I'm not here for you. He goes, I'm here for, I'm here to help your grandmother because she's struggling. And I just like, of course, then I just start, waterworks just going. And I'm like, don't go, please don't go. And he goes, you're going to do fine. But he goes, I've got to be here for her. So you go back. Well, then I remember waking up and my mother, who lived a couple of houses down from us, had come over to check on the grandkids because they were home, and she just kind of stopped by. It was kind of open door policy. She just walked in. She had woke me up and was like, I could hear you as I'm walking up to the house. I could hear you crying. And I could hear you screaming for your grandfather. And she goes, what was going on? And I told her that. She starts crying and I'm crying. And like, what's crazy was 2 weeks later, almost 2 weeks later to that date, like that's when my grandmother passed. And I was a pallbearer at her funeral. And I remember walking her down. I was like in the front. I remember walking her down, and I had this overwhelming, like kind of almost pressure. And of course, to me, at the time, I'm thinking to myself, it's just mourning and bereavement and all that. Well, but then when I like got down there, I remember like I kind of stood there for a while, just kind of watching, the casket. And I remember like my cousin coming up to me, so we had a huge family. And I remember her coming up and going, you need to go up and say bye. And she almost kind of pushed me forward. And I remember walking up and I touched the casket, and then I felt this entire like release just kind of go out of me. And it's almost like I could smell the tobacco smell again. I could feel him nearby. And I just remember it's like, and then I just was like, it's almost like I felt like relief. And it was just, to me, it was the, and I've told the story a few times, and every time I get a little teary-eyed, but it's like one of those things where like, I think it's the closest thing to seeing that moment between the afterlife, that kind of ghostly thing. And it's weird because it was during Christmas. It was like right around, she passed in March, but it was just after Christmas when, I had the dream, and then she held on for a couple of weeks later. No, so it was in January she passed. So yeah, but that was, I thought that was just it was such a crazy, like that's the most, I've had a lot of experiences with like hauntings and stuff, but to me, like when it comes to Christmas, that's always kind of a weird memory that I have, because that dream, it's almost like it just happened last night. I can remember it every time.
When you talk about it, does the dream happen again?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like bringing it up, it'll like kind of refresh it.
I can kind of see it in my mind, and I can almost see like the house, the way it looked. And it wasn't a house that, because they had a farmhouse out in the boonies, because they were a farm family. But I remember that they talked about, having, lived at other places and stuff, visiting other people. And it was almost like I was just kind of eavesdropping in on a memory. I don't know if it was hers or it was a memory in the afterlife that I was just kind of getting to see a glimpse through, but it was powerful. It was crazy, but it was amazing. So I got to see him one more time, and I never thought that I would get to do that again. And then to know that he was there for her, it was almost kind of like I got to kind of have him nearby when she passed. And I don't know if that was more me helping him or him helping me, but it was intense.
Wow, man.
I get it. Another great story, Sean. Thanks so much. Brett, we've got 10 minutes left. And also 10 minutes for those of you wanting to call in. 217-292-1680.
Let's hear it. Scary stories. There was this one Christmas. My father brought home a pet for a gift. It's called a magua.
A kangaroo acute. It was the kangaroo acute, and he dumped it right into the bathtub.
Yep.
I don't know. I can't follow that one of Sean's. I haven't had too many experiences with the afterlife or haunting or paranormal involving Christmas time. I've looked at out my window many a times in the middle of the night when you can kind of see everything because of the snow and the moonlight, kind of hoping to catch a glimpse of something, and yet haven't. There has been some things witnessed here in Central Illinois in the past month, though. There's been a local Bigfoot sighting that was just outside of Springfield, so that's interesting.
Yeah, we got to do a crypto show soon.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask this question because I'm not for sure if this falls under cryptozoology or not. If people have sightings, real life sightings of an entity they believe to be Santa, do we put that under cryptozoology?
Oh, hell yeah.
Well,
It's
the
it's
we
magic. It's mystical. It's
right, but we bastardized what is now Santa Claus is not. It's not Saint Nicholas, who it's not. We bastardized. Religion has bastardized the whole Christmas myth beyond belief. And then Charlie Brown Christmas basically says it best. We've turned it into a commercial thing, and this Santa Claus deal of the red suit and the big beard and all that stuff. It's it all goes back to another thing that basically is celebrated today, and that's Saturnalia. And the origins of Christmas and Saturnalia. So I think if you see Santa Claus, it's more likely just some dude that was at a mall. And I got you want to hear a great
Or
Santa
somebody
story?
banging your mom.
Right.
I mean, let's face it. If we want to get down to brass tacks, how many kids thought they genuinely saw Santa and was just seeing mom getting her stocking stuffed?
Right. Here's the
seriously,
great.
I'm going to bet a lot of kids woke up Christmas. Dad's trying to get overtime. He's working the holiday. Right?
I
Mom
wish
was
one
wanting
of
to
my
unwrap
kids
a
was listening
really
right now,
nice summer sausage. She
because
makes a
I'm
few phone calls. This guy's
I'm about
frisky already. He's got the costume. Because if I'm going over to somebody's house on Christmas Eve, it's in full regalia.
got that eggnog on chill.
Right? Am I right?
I have the best Christmas Santa Claus story. I have a Santa suit, a really expensive one, a very good one. And my family used to do a big party on Christmas Eve, and I would play Santa for all of the kids that were there. And immediately after playing Santa, we would leave so that I didn't have to change back out of the suit. And there was no questions about, hey, why was Uncle Rob not here? And then all of a sudden he's here again, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We're driving home. I hit a deer. As I'm standing on the side of the road, dressed as Santa Claus, another car pulls up going the other direction with two little kids in the back seat. That father hit the gas pedal so hard.
He's not even beginning to explain this one. So Sean, here's my question for you.
Yeah.
Now, would you do this? Okay, let's harken back to the times when you were single.
Okay.
Let's pretend your girlfriend's not listening to this at all.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
You get that text at about 11:02 p.m. December 24th. This is something you've been trying to set up for a while, Sean.
Yeah.
Somebody sends you a Christmas picture of some Christmas stockings, right? You know the ones.
Mm-hmm.
Red and green, right? A little bit of the fur.
Oh, yeah.
And she
Fur.
says,
Yeah.
listen, I've got absolutely nobody in my chimney right now, Sean.
Yeah.
But you got to wear the
She's
suit.
been really naughty. She's been on the naughty list.
Oh, she's been extremely naughty.
She's the one that wrote the naughty list. It was written for her.
She autographed it like John fucking Hancock. This is the Declaration of Naughty.
Yeah.
And she asks you, listen, get your reindeer together. Hop in that fucking sleigh.
Okay.
However, you got to put the suit on before you even get in the car. Right? She wants you coming through that door in the Santa suit.
Literally.
Your car is also almost out of gas. These are the variables. So you know you got to stop.
Okay.
Do you put the suit on? Do you stop for gas? And do you come over? And she also says, never mind the kids. They're asleep. So you're running the risk of going to a gas station where poor children always hang out. They're going to ask you for stuff. And then her kids seeing you come through that front door. What do you do, Sean? Do you do it?
Oh, absolutely. But
there wasn't even a pause.
No, I wasn't even paused. But I show up.
You come all over the front door
with my Krampus suit on, so I can look at the kids and go, "Mommy was 40," and then I walk up.
So there's no question about it. You're putting the suit on.
Yeah.
You're gonna go to the quick and easy or the come and go as you would have it.
I've got my sack
Both
full of
popular
goodies.
chains.
Yeah.
Both popular chains.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got my sack full of goodies, my roasted chestnuts. I'm showing up with some Yuletide cheer.
That's what I like to hear, boy.
So there you go, ladies. Sean will go the extra mile. Full sleigh, full garb. He'll even gas up.
But
you want a cow tail or some corn nuts?
My fiance
fine,
is
he's gonna
just
stop on the
outside
way.
that door, so
No,
Mrs. Claus will not be very happy with me.
So we got a question in the chat room: is what was that scary Santa movie that was in Norway that we thought were really good? I think that was something like Strange Exports. Was the title of that film, and that was a Santa-centric horror film. I'm just gonna see if that was it. Rare Exports from 2010.
Rare Exports.
A great horror Christmas story if you have not seen it.
Gonna go watch it tonight.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for stopping by. Again, this is the quickest hour on the internet. This is Night Terrors Radio. I'm Ash Hamilton, accompanied by the ever-lovely Brett Blakely. That's a lot of alliteration, a lot of P's. Sean Ed, Rob Pistilli. Everyone have themselves a wonderful and somewhat spooky Christmas, and we'll be seeing you again next week. Thanks so much, everybody.